And we're live. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello, my name is Marian. Greetings from sunny Madrid. Well, not so sunny today. And welcome to another episode of the Art and Science of DevOps Coaching, where we deep dive into the world of digital transformation powered by DevOps, Agile, and Lean practices. I am committed to bringing you insights from seasoned experts who are game changers in DevOps, like our guests today. And we have invited them because they are passionate practitioners and experts in the realm of DevOps and Agile transformation. With your extensive experience and deep insights, Charlene, Jeroen, and Luigi, we are here to share invaluable knowledge on driving value with DevOps, coaching Agile teams in transition, right? This is the title, this is the frame we're going to move today. And without further ado, let me present you our first guest. Charlene Freeman is joining us from the United States and is an Atlanta native. Charlene, you told me you've been partnering with dev and ops teams as a QA for the last 20 years and first came in touch with Agile practices in 2009, so quite a long time ago. And nowadays, Charlene has grown to become an insightful and innovating Agile team coach, currently employed at FleetCor, and as a member of the Agile transformation team. Charlene is a senior Scrum Master for 3 teams. And additionally, Charlene, you're the Managing Director of Simply Agile Community, the all-in-one ecosystem that enables Agile coaches to manage their businesses. In her free time, Charlene enjoys cruising, gambling, and spending time with her dogs. Charlene, I am very glad to welcome you to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to a great conversation.
My pleasure. Next up, we have the pleasure of hosting Jeroen Schoutema. Do I pronounce that right, Jeroen?
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine by me.
Thank you very much. And this is our DASA DevOps Coach of the Year 2023. And his mission is all about delivering successful products and services to his customer. In his pragmatic and value-centered approach, Jeroen coaches multidisciplinary autonomous DevOps team currently for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management of the Netherlands. Lately, Jeroen, you joined DASA as a certified DevOps coach and a member of the DASA Expert Forum. And as far as I know, you greet us from Alkmaar, the Netherlands. And I'm very happy to welcome you to the stage.
Thank you very much, Marian. Thanks for having me here. Thank you.
My pleasure. And last but not least, we have you on board, Luigi.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome. You're joining us from Milan, Italy, right?
Correct.
Right. Luigi is a seasoned Agile coach, and over the years, he has acted as a servant leader in various senior positions, going across different cultures, backgrounds, different sectors like sales, marketing, technology, project manager. As far as I know, Luigi, you're passionate about system-wide change, and you lead and anchor Agile principles and also drive sustainable change management practices across both teams and organization. And again, my pleasure. Welcome to the stage as well.
It will be lovely to know the people, read their comments, and pick their questions. Thank you for being there.
Great. Thank you, Tree, for being here. It's wonderful to have such an experienced and diverse panel with us today. And I'm sure our audience is just as excited as I am to hear your insights, your personal stories, your success stories, and also the messed up ones, right? So back on our topic, now that we've introduced you, what is it about today, right? Let's set the stage. Why is the coaching Agile teams in transition important? Well, a few aspects, right? A few highlights, and then the stage is all yours. First, we will discuss specific Agile and DevOps practices, exploring how these methodologies are applicable in practice, as we say, in the trenches. And I'm very glad that all 3 of you are practitioners. And this is something I wanted to stress during the introduction. Second, we will discover your effective, efficient coaching techniques tailored to your teams, helping them smoothly transition to faster value delivery via DevOps practices. And thirdly, we will also address resistance, cultural change challenges that often arise during transitions. And also, we hope to gain insights into being able to deliver value faster to our customers. Or as Dave and Jan told me in the last webinar, it's about better value, sooner, safer, happier. Right? Hold on a minute. We're going to have some housekeeping rules. For example, at the end of the session, we will have a short survey for you, our viewers, our listeners, our participants, to provide feedback. We strongly believe your feedback is incredibly valuable in shaping future events and improving the overall experience. So we encourage you to take a few minutes to complete it. And apart from that, during the session, please feel free to ask your questions via the chat available. So it should be on your right-hand side, right? You see us, the four of us, you have the chat. You can greet, you can connect with fellow professionals, you can ask questions, and please feel free to ask anything, right? It might be that we get too technical, or we might explore an unknown concept, or assume that a term is known and well-defined. Please challenge us, right? Bring your own questions, bring your own doubts, make that an interactive session. It's a dialogue, not just between the four of us, but also with you, our valuable audience. All right, guys, are you ready? Let's set the stage again now with your own words. And Charlene, I would like to start with you. Could you please define for our listeners what the topic coaching agile teams in transition means to you personally?
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I just want to say I have a little bit different point of view, maybe because I'm not only an agile coach, but I am an active Scrum Master over multiple teams. So I'm very involved in the trenches as a practitioner currently today. So one of the things that I think is most valuable and important about this is being able to move from more of a siloed thinking concept to more of a collaborative approach. So what do I mean by that? I'll give a good example. When we have a sprint team that has a need from DevOps, instead of just sending them some sort of Teams or Slack chat message or an email, actually collaborating with them. And in order to do that, you've got to step out of your comfort zone. I want to impress upon that. And if you, as your team members, not you as the coach or Scrum Master, but your team members don't feel comfortable doing that, that's where you come in to kind of help guide and lead that conversation and build those relationships, because you guys need to partner together, meaning the sprint teams and the DevOps group teams or line of business, because that's going to help work together and not a siloed approach. That's probably the most important thing that I see is still an ongoing challenge today for a lot of teams. And as a coach, I not only do this with my teams, I have to interact with other teams in the divisions that I work in with their Scrum Masters to help them approach that as well. But that's going to give you more of a valuable, faster outcome, and that's what we're looking for.
Thank you, Charlene. Quite a good insight. Jeroen, same question for you, please. How would you define for our listeners what the topic means to you personally?
Yeah, great question. I think for me personally, it's a learning journey. It's a learning journey and then discovering how I can contribute to deliver value to our customers, to our stakeholders. Because for me, that's the most important. And it's fail and learn. So that's the journey I take just like that. Yeah. That's
okay.
It. I keep it simple.
That's a very good principle. Keep it simple, right? Always help simplify, prioritize. Great.
Yeah.
What about you, Luigi? What is your view? Why is this topic relevant in today's working environment and in our current working landscape?
Well, that's actually an excellent question. Well, in my experience, I see it as a journey of guiding and supporting teams through, I would say, a profound transformation. And it's about basically helping the teams to embrace the understanding that there is no singular truth in the world or the complex world of software development. conversely, I would say it's a landscape, and that's always sometimes the terrific news that where uncertainty isn't a punishment, but rather, I would say, the expression of freedom and creativity. That said, and however, my experience, what's often overlooked is the emotional aspect of this journey. And the positive, and what I have found out is that the positive emotional state of teams is vital. And I would say in this journey, it's about creating an environment where teams not only work effectively, but also have fun. And that's for me fundamental, enjoy in their collective efforts. And when teams experience this positive emotional state, they become more resilient, innovative, and committed. And as a coach, what I experience is not just about processes and methodologies, it's about fostering a culture of trust and psychological safety. And together with my colleague Dimitri De Reuteri, what we found out, and I know he's here today, it's about enabling teams to thrive in uncertainty, find delight, problem solving through scientific method, and relish the freedom to experiment and learn. That's basically what my experience is in this great job.
Thank you, Luigi. Great additions. But it's about also emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and I loved your point about fun, right? Cool. By the way, when I look down, what's an Agile coach without a post-it, right? I'm taking my learnings as well. Don't worry. For all of our listeners, you'll have a key takeaways document afterwards. And now I would suggest let's get started with our first subtopic, right? For those of you who already attended an episode of the Art and Science of DevOps Coaching, know that we split the main topic in various subtopics to make sure we cover both the broad and depth of the topic. And the first subtopic is enabling team to adopt new practices. And Jeroen, back to you. From your experience, could you please share with us what are the green flags, right? Key green flags you have observed that a team is ready to accelerate their value delivery?
Yes, okay. I think great question again. For me, the green flags for a team that's ready for DevOps, I want to make two important points. The first one is the team members have to be open to change and to experiment. This is the first one for me that is important. They have to be constantly inspect and adapt and improve themselves. And the best time with starting DevOps for me was yesterday, but the next best time is right now. So if you think DevOps can bring you more value to your customer, I think it's just good to start learning. The second point I want to make is that and then it's not exactly the team, but also the management in the company is also important, because the team has to be empowered. I think that's really important to be successful, and hopefully the team is already self-managing, so that's also important, that they can make their own decisions about reaching their goal. So what and when and how are they going to do their work, and can they make the decisions by themselves, or is it still the management that is making those decisions? So yeah, those two points for me it's the green flags what you mentioned.
All right. So these would be the indicators a team is ready to dive a bit more into more value delivery via DevOps practices. Thank you for that. And Luigi, back to you. I think your comment triggered our first question, and thanks for that to Marius. I hope I pronounced that right with my German pronunciation, even though that might be a Dutch name. So the question is, what kind of steps do you take to create this culture of trust, Luigi?
Well, I would say in nutshell, I always talk about psychological safety. So trust is something which starts when people basically do not have any fear. Fear, I would say, is the possibly the worst poison for trust. And that's one point. The other part of the story is that how do you create stuff in the very beginning when you have people who do not know each other? And basically, what I have found out along all this year, I would talk about when people are quite candid in show their vulnerability and be themselves. And so the fact of being vulnerable and show that you are vulnerable and you are not afraid of being vulnerable and you are not afraid of facing consequences, that's fundamental. And the other part of the story is also work in your organization. Exactly. And when you educate your kids, that basically particularly in Europe more than in America, where basically errors are stigmatized, I think that in Europe we have this kind of Americans, I would say, are much more open, and basically their pioneer culture is very different from ours. And basically, making mistakes actually is necessary. Edison would have never found
Why? Could you please expand on that? Why is making mistakes necessary?
Because I make an example, very American example actually. Edison, when he took 1,000 tentatives to basically bring to everybody the bulb light. Now, some people say, well, he made 1,000 mistakes. Actually, I would say he was 1,000 times brave in trying hard. So basically, what I would say, the stubbornness is fundamental, and not being blamed, and actually find this kind of stubbornness something positive. That's fundamental. While if you start blaming somebody making a mistake, basically you are basically telling people like, if you take risks, you're going to be punished, and that obviously kills the trust right away. So it's I would say this kind of attitude which really helps.
I'd like to add on to that if I can.
Please do. Okay.
So one of the things that is important is for every team member to understand and know that they have a voice. And I think that is basically the role of the Scrum Master or Agile coach to help come in and kind of give some guidance to that for the team. But a lot of times, and I will tell you, I'm going to give more practical insights since I'm in the trenches right now in my daily job. But one of the things that you working at a large company that I work at, sometimes you have different, what I call lines of business, or, that you're working with, for example, DevOps, that's a whole nother group outside. So they may have their direction from a different reporting structure, a different manager saying, this is what you have to do. And it may be more cut and dry, like an operationals point of view, like you do step 1, A, B, and C versus a sprint team that's going to come in and say, this is what we need to discuss it, we need to partner, have a different approach. In order for these two type of cultures, they're going to collide a little bit. So you have to start, this is where I go back to my original comment of building those relationships, right? And so one of the things, I'll give a practical answer. One of the things I do is when we work with DevOps, I'll invite the key team member from DevOps to come to one of our sprint team meetings, whether it be a stand-up or whatever one, maybe a backlog refinement, and give their input on whatever story is that we have to work on them with. So that way they have an insight into what our team is facing to help us deliver faster, right? And then we have an insight of his direction of what he's got to do with whatever tool setup he's got to do to help us, whether it be AWS, GitLab, whatever. So that's part of my different point of view here is, I think psychological safety is the key, but also building that relationship is kind of a tag on to that. Make sense?
Absolutely, totally makes sense. And Charlene, while we have with us here, can you share some more examples of teams that effectively navigated the challenges of adopting new practices?
Yeah, I mean, I can give an example of one of my teams. not recently, but we went through a process at my company where we started to move to a CI/CD process where we did daily releases. So in order to do that, we had to work our team, many teams, but I'll say for my sprint team, I nominated us to be the guinea pig to go through this. So let's be the first ones, right? So
Right.
my team was, we have some rock star people on there that are very knowledgeable, and I have awesome dev leads that will go out there and just, take that leap off the cliff and try something new. And so I took advantage of that. And when they're okay, I said, let's be the first ones to try it. So in order to get that set up for the whole company, we stepped out of our comfort zone and worked with DevOps to not only get it set up for what we call a pipeline change request today at our company. So we actually went from 2-week deployments to daily in order to do that. And using the different tools, working with them on how things need to be set up, and more importantly, testing it with them. So they don't feel like, oh, we put this in place, but we haven't really tested it with a sprint team to see how it would work. And so I took it a step further, and to learn the process even more, I documented in Confluence the steps for all the other teams to follow at the same time. So we all kind of partnered together. From my point of view as the Scrum Master, from the dev point of view on my team, working with DevOps, using the tools, and from the DevOps, setting things up and trying things out to see what worked and what didn't work. And that was a very positive outcome. And we actually still use that today for training for any new team that gets established. So it's been a very positive outcome, but that took a lot of effort and a lot of time. And let me just say, that's outside of your normal sprint work. You still have to deliver. It's not like you get out of completing your stories. So it takes a leap of faith and some extra time. And so that's a good example of where psychological safety was working and people were working together.
Right. Well, that's quite inspiring. So what I heard out is spot the opportunity. Maybe it looks like a tangent at first, but then it's also about opportunity, and then having the psychological safety, or creating and enabling the psychological safety to push and pull the team into the right direction as a coach. Right. Good. Well, let's move on, Jeroen. A question for you. Have you observed any anti-patterns in adopting DevOps practices, and what were the reasons behind these?
Oh.
Have you with us?
Yes, and the last part was a little bit, but I think I understand your question. Yes, of course, I've seen some anti-patterns. I can say something about it. The first one that I want to speak about is do not try to automate and change everything at once. That's what we tried, and it didn't work out.
The three of us nodding. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. First, you need to analyze the current situation and the processes with the company. I think that's quite important before you start. Look for quick solutions, focus on them, and prioritize the tasks, so you get some focus to pick up some things though. So yeah, be aware of that. Second one is never trade quality for speed. The focus is most of the time on fast delivery, and it's easy to miss the point and deliver on what is important, and how to deliver quality software. Focus and speed, but also don't forget quality. Because that can be a problem. For example, you're building up technical debt. So, okay, you want to speed up, but don't forget quality. The third one is do not give up the continuous improvement. After implementing some DevOps practices, it may be tempting to relax a little bit. But we constantly have to inspect and adapt and improve ourselves. Don't fall asleep, and you can always make better products, better services. You can be a better teammate. So let's move on. Yeah. So that was were my 3 points.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think we have our anti-patterns, right? So how to not be successful at that, right? Change everything at once, focus on speed only, pile up your technical debt, and stop improving. And you're set up for a lesson learned, maybe not a failure yet, right?
Been there, done that.
Right. All right. Good. Now that we've set the stage and the topic, let us reach the core of this session. And this is about the seamless transition to value delivery via DevOps. And Luigi, back with you. What are the critical steps and considerations for ensuring, and watch out here, seamless and minimally disruptive acceleration of value delivery within a team or organization, right? So we think about what Jeroen just said. We don't focus only on speed, but apparently there is more to it. So the questions for you.
Well, in my experience, when you transition from Agile to DevOps, in a way, it's like upgrading your car engine while it's running. It's still running. So it's tricky, but it can also be smooth. And obviously, another part of the story that it's very important, there is always a focus on team dynamics and individual behavior. So all in all, the kind of steps I found out are, well, the shared vision and alignment. So it's very important that when I'm engaged with teams, that I try to observe to what extent everyone understands the why behind the transition. So when everyone is, so to say, on board with the vision, then the journey becomes smoother in relative terms. And talking about resistance, people often resist to change because they fear the unknown. And by clearly communicating the benefits and aligning people with a shared vision, you always end up addressing these fears and create a sense of purpose. So, and if you want to make a sort of metaphor, when you have a rowing team, if one person is out of sync, it slows everyone down. That's one aspect. The other is what I would call skill upgradation and training. So investing time in team training. So whether it's about containerization, continuous integration, continuous deployment, or infrastructure as a code, whatever, it's very important that you equip your team or your teams with the right skills. And my observation, particularly when you have to do with adults compared to kids, is that adults tend to be motivated when they see the relevance of what they are learning to their real life tasks. And so it's very important to make sure that the training is practical and immediately applicable. And it's very important to consider the psychological benefits of peer learning, because I have found out that peer learning really boosts motivation and knowledge retention. And another thing I found out is that the internal workshops work very well. And the reason why that is that internal workshop motivate people, and peer learning can often be more effective than external courses. That's my experience. The other part is a tool selection, whether it's Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, whatever you want to mention. It's very important that you choose the tools that integrate well with your current stack. So, and the caveat, I would say, is avoiding shiny object syndrome, what I would call them. So,
could you please expand on that? What's the shiny object syndrome?
Absolutely. So, it's very human that many people are naturally drawn to new and exciting things, but it's essential to choose tools based on their practicality and suitability to the specific needs, as opposed to, oh, this is trendy, this is fun. So, and the other part of the story is that understanding the psychology of decision making, particularly when it can prevent impulsive choices. So it's very important not to take choices impulsively. So as a coach, I found out, well, I need to observe how organizations make decisions. That's one aspect. Mm-hmm. The other aspect is very important, in my experience, the incremental implementation. So as Jeroen said, if you want to do everything now, that's probably set up to fail. So my experience is that start small, you may automate one manual process, then move to the next. And as Jeroen said in the very beginning, people feel often, so to say, overwhelmed by large-scale changes. And by breaking the transition to smaller, manageable steps, you can reduce resistance and make progress feel less daunting, so to say. And then another important psychological aspect is celebrating these small victories can provide a sense of accomplishment and motivation. So that's something I really have experienced personally. Another aspect are feedback loops. So the essence of DevOps lies in continuous feedback. So, and when you introduce a mechanism to collect feedback, both from your systems like monitoring tools, for example, and the people like retrospectives, that's very important. And then timely and constructive feedback, I have seen fosters a culture of improvement, right? And it's very important also, behind feedback there is trust, and then people do not fear blame. So feedback is important, but with the certainty there is no blame. That's basically where people are, well, I want to improve, so feedback is important. Then the other part is collaborative culture. DevOps, in my experience, is much about people as it is about tools. So foster a culture, the fact of fostering a culture of open communication between development and operation teams is important. And my mantra is brick silos, not spirits. That's, I think, is fundamental. And people are important. Silos had to be broken, but not people and not spirits.
Thank you, Luigi. I love how the talk is going. Can you hear me well, by the way? This audio is fine, guys? Yeah? All right. I love how this talk is going into the direction of culture, psychological safety, culture, mindset, and so on. And in this sense, we have a very interesting question, and I would like to pass this one to you, Charlene. Peter, hello, Peter. I'm very happy that you join us. And I'm counting on you both as a participant and also as a speaker sometime sooner. So the question is, Charlene, how do you approach vulnerability in a male-dominated and gender-biased environments where boys don't cry and the rest have it even worse?
Oh my goodness, that is such a relevant question to today's world. I just want to say it is very true that IT is still what we call a man's world, in quotations. But there are ways that you can navigate around that. And first and most important to anything is know that you matter, and what you have to add value to is very important as anyone that is not in this, what I call the good old boys club. See, I'm from Atlanta, so we have those slang terms. If you don't know what I'm saying, ask me, I'll explain it. But the good old boys club is still alive and well today in IT. And one of the things that I did personally, my path and my experience was I took the approach of showing value wherever I could. And so when I first started at pretty much any job I've had, you just kind of look at, okay, this is Charlene. She's a name on a paper. They don't really know much about me and what I have to offer. But in all my talks, I always express the importance of value. You can ask my connections. That is the most important thing to me. What do I mean by that is whatever it is that you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're on a sprint team, if you're in DevOps, whatever, if you're hosting this webinar, showing value and providing value to what you have as your job assignment is the most important thing. Because what's going to happen? The people that are in what I call the good old boys club are going to see, oh, you know what? Charlene knows about this, and Charlene knows how to do this, and they'll start seeing the value that you provide, and then the tables will turn, and then you'll start getting invited because you're known as the expert or the person who knows the most about X, whatever the topic is. And it could be something related to your job or a tool or whatever the topic is that they're discussing that day. And then your boss will be like, oh, I need to bring Charlene into this. So now the table has the script is flipped. And I literally am on a project right now where my boss came in and said, whatever Charlene says, go. And if she doesn't approve it, then I don't approve it. And I'm not coming to the meeting. She's got it. She's handling it. And that's literally where it has tables have turned to today. And that is all because I worked very hard. I prepared. If you don't know something about a certain topic, yes, go out and learn it. And you can do that in many different ways. And I love what Luigi said about the whole peer-to-peer training. I love that. Lunch and learns are important. Sharing, having centers of excellence, if you will, between groups and teams and people. Just, iron sharpens iron. Let's learn from each other and help each other out. And so that way we can become better together. But I just want to encourage, especially all the female people who are listening, or someone who is, may feel like you don't have much to contribute. You matter, you are valuable, but please, in order to overcome this hurdle, you do have to put forth some time and effort and research into knowing. Go learn about a tool. If you don't know it, go learn these things. So when you show up, you can actually understand and you can contribute, and then you start to show value, and then you're looked at differently and you're respected. And that's the most important thing, if nothing else, that I share on this call today. I think it applies to everybody, no matter what job you're doing, is the value of showing value and building your credibility. So I do believe we still have a little bit of a problem today, but it can be overcome. And I want to give that hope for everybody that it can be overcome. There are many different examples, not just me, but some of my peers who have successfully navigated this today.
Absolutely. That sounds very inspirational for me, and I fully subscribe to it. Absolutely. Head off, virtual head off. All right. Cool. Well, looking at the time, we have a few more topics to cover. Jeroen, talking about the navigating of transition to high performance, could you please share some real world examples of a team that made it, right? That successfully managed their transitions to high performance? And what were your key takeaways from that?
Yeah, sure. I can. In my organization, we started to transition from let's say nothing, or let's say old school, to Agile and DevOps. So that was quite challenging, but we did it, and I think we were quite successful in that. But of course, I have some takeaways from my experience. I can say start with who. So find some people with the right skills who can do the work, and combine that with the why. So try to understand the customers. Yes. Once the who and the why are filled in, then it becomes more easier to make choices about how to create value and what to do, and of course what not to do. So that was an experience that I had with my organization in my context, of course. Second one is, yeah, change the organization incrementally. So, and for us it was team by team, because you have to realize the people where you're working with need some time to change themselves. Yes, so also here is the point: take it easy, step by step. So we started with one team, and finally we are now with four teams, but we did it team by team. The third one I want to mention is, don't don't wait to start the transition, because you cannot make a plan for it, and you are learning mostly by doing it. So, and here's again, you have to inspect and adapt. Yes. So what we did, there was just one moment that we said we are going to start, because then we are going to learn most of it. Yes. And stop making the plans and the discussions, just start. We know we are going to fail sometimes, but we are going to try to learn from it. And of course it was a quite long journey, but uh, I'm talking about 3 years now, and we started with one team. We have now four. So yeah, I think it's not bad. And yeah, last but not least, we are delivering value to our customers and our stakeholders. So that's of course the most important. So These were my takeaways, Marian.
Thank you very much. All right, good. Moving to our final subtopic of the day. Of the evening, depends where you watch us, and then time passes by so quickly. I'm starting to get a bit eager to get more learning from you guys. Maybe we should think of a follow-up session. I already have a few ideas. But for now, let's stick with the subtopic, right? Last one for today, guiding teams into adopting new tools and processes. And Luigi, back to you, please. What strategies and coaching techniques would you use to facilitate the successful adoption of new DevOps tools and processes? And also linking these with already established Agile practices, right? So we have this DevOps, Agile, inclusive, exclusive. What's your view on that?
Well, the interesting thing is that when you integrate tools and processes within the, so to say, an Agile framework, is in a way, and that's the paradigm, is like upgrading the software of your phone. And obviously, you want the new feature, but you don't want to lose your familiar apps and settings in a way. So I would describe. But in nutshell, I would say that first, I would talk about building upon Agile principles. So we know the Agile emphasizes customer satisfaction, early delivery, and team collaboration. So DevOps extends this by emphasizing automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment. And the technique for this, as I mentioned before, is pair programming and pairing also on infrastructure. So just as two developers work on the same code or have a developer pair with an operation person. And it's very important also that the people consideration is acknowledging that pairing may bring uncertainty. So in that way, talking again about psychological safety, it's very important that during the session, it's very important that we keep on encouraging trust and mutual support in this process. That's one thing. The other point is, value stream mapping. So in value stream mapping, one of the important things is identifying bottlenecks in your current process. And perhaps, so to say, code integration is a pain point on environment setup is a challenge in this case. So, and the strategy is basically trying to incorporate continuous integration, continuous development, and by integrating continuous integration, continuous development tools, you can align team with Agile sprints, so ensuring faster feedback and quicker releases. And again, a people consideration is basically when you uncover bottlenecks, you also reveal areas of frustration, so which is also important. And it's very important to approach this very empathetically and ensuring team members feel valued and addressing, well, clearly these kind of eventual psychological barriers. And I also have a personal experience on that. I had the case of a team having to address a testing bottleneck. It was a very critical, and they also understand that basically this led to frustration among testers who have been under immense pressure to meet deadlines. And what actually changed everything was basically the fact of approaching this situation in a very empathetic way. First of all, I have seen the team acknowledging the frustration. So during the value stream mapping session, the team really acknowledged the frustration that the testing team had felt by experiencing high workload and strong time pressure. And the other important thing was basically expressing gratitude. So the team also expressed gratitude for the hard work of the testing team. And then also very important that, okay, it's not only your problem, it's our problem. So it's also a change on pronouns. So the kind of making collaborative problem solving, and rather than placing blame on any particular team, the whole team basically created a collaborative atmosphere where basically the members from different departments, including testing, they brainstormed the solution together. And then also finally, what the solution found was implemented gradually and not a boom. like a big bang. So the team decided basically to implement changes to address the bottleneck incrementally, considering the psychological well-being of the testing team. So this was, for example, a very good experience. And another part is, I would say, the experimentation and learning. So DevOps introducing new tools and methodologies. We all know that. So it's important to approach them with an experimental mindset. And here I would like to bring a good experience I made, what they call the spike sprints. So spike sprints.
What's a spike sprint?
Yeah, a spike sprint is a research activity. Basically, you have a sprint basically where you dedicate specific sprints to explore and master new DevOps tools. And basically, there are truly sprints, and you treat them as an experiment, a learning journey. So you're really like a pioneer. You know that you are going to the unknown, but the spike sprint, actually, you want to learn really something. So your sprint goal is very learning something. You don't know what is going to happen, but it's very important. And also this brings trust, and also this delivers the team a sense of, oh yeah, our organization is a learning organization, and also this kind of attitude. Also, I would say, make sure that people want to stay in their organization. That I would say it's a very good experience. And then the other part of the story for that is
Luigi, sorry to interrupt you. We are running out of time. If you could wrap it up.
Okay. Then
thank you.
Then I give the word to my colleagues.
Thank you so much. Charlene, I would like to pick one last question from the audience before we wrap it up. And that's from Elise. How do you guys challenge the developers between a perfect quality software or really good enough software?
Great question. So one of the things that we do, not only do we look at, I love the way that Luigi was talking about, it wasn't just the QA testing team, but everyone owned it. So one of the things that I do with all my teams is create a working agreement. And part of that is basically coming up with this concept and helping them to understand what's called collective ownership, because the sprint team is responsible as a group together, not one individual, for producing the sprint increment at the end of the sprint. So one of the things that I really like that, I wanted to mention that, but one of the things that we do, not only do we have pair programming, but more importantly, in using some of our DevOps tools, we use a tool called SonarQube, and there is like a certain percentage of code coverage that needs to happen, which includes unit test coverage that is, let's say, a standard for all the teams, like not a standard, but more of like a level that they need to reach, like a goal. I guess that's a better word, like a goal they need to reach. And then we try to keep it a certain standard level amongst all teams, like a certain percentage of their code, for example. And I'm just going to throw out a number. I'm not going to say this is what we do, but say 80% of their code has to be, covered as far as unit test coverage, as well as code coverage. And, in sort of the testing that the QA team does, there's they have to understand that there has to be, coverage completely within their testing. And so we challenge that as well. So not only do we challenge the developers, we challenge the QA people, and it is a gradual approach at first until they get, the understanding that, but we also basically don't just hire contractors or people off the street. We want to make sure they understand how to do their job, and they should be used to this. So it should be a no-brainer with someone who comes on the team understanding that this is an expectation. So that's one way that we do it. And it's really fantastic. I will say this because you can log in and you can go through certain DevOps tools, and you can actually see the reporting directly live in real time, showing the code coverage from SonarQube, which is fantastic.
Thank you very much, Charlene. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Great. I have a very good wrap-up question for you, Luigi and Jeroen, and that comes from Elisa again. What kind of suggested reading would we have for our audience, for our viewers with us here today? Maybe all of you, just go for it. Luigi.
Well, one book which I really find every time triggers me a lot of reflection also after experiences is a book whose title is Creating Agile Organization, a Systemic Approach. And the authors are Cesario Ramos and Ilya Pavlichenko. And this book is really encompasses many things from really how an organization can be created, and finding also they teach you not only methodology but also how do you create the right mindset for an agile organization before telling people, well, you're going to apply Kanban or Scrum. That's not the point. I think an organization may change only if there is a right mindset, and if it goes also through certain things, such as, for example, finding the roots of not only of the problem, but really thinking systemically. And that's, I would say, is fundamental. So I found this book really, I always find actually this book every time very insightful.
Right. Thank you, Luigi. Jeroen, your book, your suggestion?
Yes, I'm reading at this moment The Professional Agile Leader.
Professional Agile Leader.
Yes.
By whom? Do you know that?
Yes, there are 3 authors, I think. It's Ron Eringa, Kurt Bindner, and Laurens Bonnema.
Thank you.
And why I'm this reading, because what I found interesting is how are you going to make your organization more, let's say, agile or DevOps than only on team level? Because we know we need agile leadership to make the culture, to make a culture for more DevOps and agile. And yeah, let's say what I see most of the times is that we are trying to work agile to deliver to our customers, but it stays on team level, yes. And why is that? And this book gives answers on that, and that's really interesting. So I'm reading it and I think, hey, okay, now I understand why this is happening. Yes,
Right.
you need leaders to get the DevOps culture and to really implement more, to being more an agile organization. And that's hard for most of the companies I see around. So for me, it's a really interesting book.
Great recommendation. Charlene, your book, your suggestion, please.
I actually have 3 books I want to suggest, but one is my current read. The first one is Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette. That is all about greatness for the dev team. And Lead Without Blame by Tricia Broderick. That is a really good book. It's really, anyone that's in leadership should read that book. And so we don't come into what I call the blame game society. But the book that I'm reading now that is my favorite is called Extraordinarily Badass Coaching, Badass Agile Coaching, The Journey from Beginner to Mastering Beyond by Bob Galen. Bob is a good friend of mine, and I was so proud that when he wrote this book, I met up with him and had him sign my personal copy to keep forever. Bob is one of my Agile mentors, and he's doing an Badass Agile Coaching Day in December this year. So I encourage you to look that up and join in. I will be there for that. But that it is a great book. It shows the Agile growth wheel and how we can all grow and be able to help make everything from every aspect of it successful. So he does a very good real life approach to that concept. So I love it. It's very relatable.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I fully identify with this kind of agile coaching. So I'm going to buy the book. Yes. All right, guys. We are running out of time. So I would like to ask you for a quick key message in 5 words from this discussion that you want the audience to take with them after today. Luigi, starting with you.
Okay. I would say 3 things. One is long-term thinking. So when you integrate DevOps into Agile, it is important to have a long-term perspective, and changes are manageable and sustainable always in the long run. The second is system thinking. So a successful integration of new tools and processes requires a holistic understanding of the entire system. And the third aspect, which I mentioned from the very beginning, is psychological safety. So when creating a culture of psychological safety is crucial for effective integration.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Jeroen, what is your key message, please, for our audience?
Yeah, I want to say think big, act small. Yes, so that's what we talked about also. Make small steps incrementally, how the way we do with agile working, agile thinking. So that's important. Second thing, it's all about delivering value to your customers and your stakeholders. Whatever you are going to use, be flexible and think about your customers. How can you make them happy?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. What about you, Charlene? Key
Well,
message?
they've stolen some of mine, so this is all good. But I have a few others. So I will say, number one, step outside your comfort zone. Okay, don't get stagnant. I do like the fact that, yeah, that's key. And think of ways that you can provide value through outcomes, not just outputs. And then the third is focusing on overall what I call operational excellence and remove your blinders. So what does that mean? In my world today, that means when I'm approached with a question, I'm not thinking about the solution for just me or my team. I'm thinking about how it's going to affect as a snowball effect over all the teams. So just stepping outside of the, giving more holistic view. That's it.
Totally makes sense. Good. Guys, if our audience would like to reach out to you, what is your preferred media? So Luigi, starting with you, would you like to be contacted by our guest? And if yes,
Sure.
what is the preferred way?
LinkedIn, I think I have my LinkedIn profile. They can, I mean, whoever wanted to be in contact with me, simply ask for a contact and when we can talk.
Awesome. What about you, Jeroen?
Yeah, for me the same. LinkedIn, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. Just send me a message or connection. I like it. I like to collaborate and meet new people. Yeah, sure.
Awesome. And you, Charlene, would you like to be contacted afterwards?
Yes, absolutely. I have two ways. One is LinkedIn, of course, but also through the Simply Agile community. That's at simplyagile.me. That's a free community for Agilists to join and collaborate together. So I wanted to encourage people to look into joining our community. But I would love to hear from folks. If you have additional questions, you can send me messages, and when I can, I will reply for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And guys, I would like to remind you about the survey. We strongly believe in feedback. Please let us know about the content, about the format, about the host, about the guests, about the platform, anything that you liked, learned, or lacked, or longed for. Use the link that's now in the chat. I would like to warmly thank our listeners who sent in their questions. I know we couldn't manage to answer all of these. We will share the additional key takeaways document in a few weeks. Please stay tuned. Keep an eye out for that. This will provide a summary of today's panel discussion and also answer the additional questions, and will also contain the suggested reading. As always, it has been my pleasure. I hope you found this episode of the Art and Science of DevOps Coaching valuable, inspiring. Remember, it doesn't matter if you're a practitioner, enthusiast, a beginner, a seasoned professional, there is always room to grow and learn with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to join us on November 15th, where we're going to explore the DevOps coaching for automation and tooling. So we're going to unlock the power of automation. And Charlene, Jeroen, and Luigi, thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very so much.
Goodbye, guys. Keep learning and cheers.
Yep.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.